Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Do you like being educated on things that entertain but don't matter? Well, then you need to be listening to the podcast with Knox and Jamie. Every Wednesday, we put together an episode dedicated to delightful idiocy to give your brain a break from all the serious and important stuff.
Whether we're deep diving a classic movie, dissecting the true meanings behind the newest slang, or dunking on our own listeners for their bad takes or cringy stories, we always approach our topics with humor and just a little bit of side-eye, and we end every episode with recommendations on all the best new movies, books, TV shows, or music.
To find out more, just search up the podcast with Knox and Jamie wherever you listen to podcasts and prepare to make Wednesday your new favorite day of the week.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
On today's Smart 7, MPs vote yes on assisted dying, Greg Wallace snaps back at allegations, and lots more. It's Monday, 2nd of December, it's Cyber Monday, and happy birthday, Britney Spears.
The Smart 7. It's news, but not the news.
Friday saw MPs back a new assisted dying bill allowing some terminally ill adults in England and Wales to seek help to end their lives. To qualify, individuals must be expected to die within 6 months, be capable of making decisions about their health, and sign 2 separate declarations about their wish to die. The bill, which passed by 330 votes to 275, will now move to the amendment stage and could take up to 2 years to become law. The vote followed 5 hours of emotional debate, with MPs speaking passionately on both sides of the issue. Labour's Pat McFadden, who supported the bill, says it was important that MPs voted with their conscience rather than follow a party line.
It's quite right that on something like this, that a party whip shouldn't apply. And when a party whip shouldn't apply, of course you're going to get members of the government who've got different views. But it's the job of government to reflect the will of Parliament.
Those opposed to the bill have cited concerns about a lack of safeguards, as well as fears that vulnerable people could be coerced into making the request. Conservative Lord Mackinlay says he's unconvinced.
I'm not opposed to the concept of it,
right.
Particularly for motor neurone disease, but I just cannot reconcile the safeguards required to stop those who may be coerced into doing something that they shouldn't be doing.
Last week was a tough one for Sir Keir Starmer. On Friday, he faced his first cabinet resignation as former Transport Secretary Louise Hay stepped down after it emerged she'd been convicted of a fraud offence 10 years ago. This week, the PM is set to unveil new targets to cut NHS waiting lists and tackle crime, calling it the most ambitious government programme in a generation, in an attempt to improve approval ratings. But immigration continues to dominate the agenda, with new figures showing net migration reached a record 900,000 in the year to June 2023, although it dropped in the year to June 2024. He's blamed the Conservatives for creating an immigration crisis, but Shadow Environment Secretary Victoria Atkins says Labour isn't doing enough to deter migrants.
They're not setting out any firm plans for change. And we know, for example, that they're focusing on the process, which, whilst that's important, of course it is, nonetheless, it's also about how we deter people.
Even within his own party, support looks shaky for Sir Keir. Labour MP Diane Abbott's made it clear she's not impressed.
There's been issues where I think Keir Starmer has shown poor judgment. He didn't seem to understand it would look bad if he was getting a millionaire to pay through his glasses and his suits. Maybe if he'd done more door-knocking for the Labour Party, didn't understand of all the people to take money off, not pensioners.
Syrian rebels have seized control of most of Aleppo, the country's second largest city according to the Syrian military. It's the first time rebels have reached the city since being driven out by the army 8 years ago. More than 300 people, including over 20 civilians, have been killed since the offensive began last Wednesday, and it's thought to be the largest assault on the Syrian government in years. In response, this weekend saw Russia launch airstrikes across parts of Aleppo for the first time since 2016. US National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan says rebels took advantage of the disruption in the Middle East.
Now, the speed of this offensive, I think, very much surprised the Syrian government and other observers in the region. But the fact that we've seen activity in Syria, that is something that is the natural result of those adversaries ending up in a weaker strategic position.
Celebrity chef Greg Wallace has been cooking up a storm on social media this weekend. He stepped back from his role on MasterChef last week following a string of complaints about his behaviour from 13 people who worked with him on a range of shows over a 17-year period. On Saturday, he released a video addressing the allegations where he shifted the blame onto his accusers.
I can see the complaints coming from a handful of middle-class women of a certain age just from Celebrity MasterChef.
Channel 4's former head of news, Dorothy Byrne, was quick to call him out.
He is a man of a certain age, the age when dinosaurs roamed this earth. Does he think that young women want to hear rape jokes?
Still to come on the Smart 7, Liverpool cap a big week with a big win and why Kate Blanchett is scared of AI. Right after this. Welcome back.
Liverpool are favourites to win the Premier League after a 2-0 home victory over reigning champions Man City. An early goal from Cody Gakpo set the pace and the win was sealed with a second-half Mo Salah penalty kick. It's been a big week for the Reds, who also beat Real Madrid with the same score in the Champions League last Wednesday. And with more big games coming up, Liverpool boss Arne Slot says the team needs to keep the momentum going.
We're a compatible team and it's very difficult to beat us. But therefore we need to put the effort in like we put in every single game.
Kate Blanchett's new film Rumours is hitting UK cinemas on Friday, and she's been doing the media rounds to promote it. The apocalyptic comedy sees a group of world leaders attending the G7 summit get lost in the woods while attempting to draft a statement on the global climate crisis. There they meet a number of unexpected characters, including a giant human brain and a sentient AI chatbot named Astrid. On the topic of AI, Kate says she's scared it'll start replacing us.
I think it's very real. The voice will happen first and the image comes second. You can totally replace any person. If you've recorded yourself for, I think it used to be 30 seconds, but now I think it's 3 or 4, your voice can be replicated.
And are you concerned about that?
Deeply concerned.
Good news, Virgin River fans! Season 6 drops on Netflix December 19th, just in time for some holiday binging. This series picks up months after Season 5, with Jack and Mel finally tying the knot in a dreamy spring wedding. But it's not all smooth sailing, as Mel's dad's past holds some big secrets, and new love triangles are set to send the small-town rumour mill spinning. The trailer just dropped, so be sure to grab some tissues because it looks like an emotional ride.
I want to make it a habit of not keeping secrets.
I feel like the luckiest girl in the world.
Here is to second chances, second chapters, and most of all, to the lovely couple.
You've been listening to the Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes, we'll give you the world.